Here's an interesting question from William. He asked, what is the worst thing that will do the most harm to your garden that seems like something everyone does?
That's a great question. There are things that people put into their gardens that they think are really beneficial, and sometimes in the wrong quantity are not beneficial. And so we'll see people, like every spring I'll have somebody come in and they're like, last fall I put composted steer manure all over my entire garden.
Yeah.
And I put like 6 inches out there and I tilled it all in, and my garden's going to be like amazing this year. It's going to be like so good.
Burned everything.
And it burns everything up. Yeah. And so if it's not really well composted and broken down and not in that volume, that's like too much. The key to like really building your soil up is to add organic matter every year, but you want to use like 3 or 4 or 5 different things that add up to maybe 2 or 3 or 4 inches, but not too much of any one thing. So adding too much of one thing can cause problems, because if you get like a compost that's just like high in wood, like if it's like been like lots of shredded wood and branches or wood shavings, it's really high in carbon, and that will pull all the nitrogen out of your soil so your plants don't grow. So the other customer that comes in, they're like, oh, I went and I got all this compost, and it's going to be so great. My garden's going to be awesome. I put 6 inches out there, and then nothing grows because it's, it'll get this tall and it just stops growing. So the key is to use a variety of different materials and do that every year. In the fall is the best time to work that into your soil, but you want to use some grass clippings, use some leaves, use some straw, use a little bit of compost. You want to use a lot of different things. Wood shavings or sawdust are fine, but you got to balance them with some other things so that no one thing is dominant in the organic matter that you're putting into your garden. And then you always want to add some humate to help decompose that and some nitrogen to break that down. And so in the fall, I do like 3 or 4 or 5 inches of different stuff, but maybe a ½ inch to an inch of each one.
Oh, okay.
And then I put nitrogen on it, I put some humate on it, and then we till that in. And then in the spring, it's all broken down. It's like amazing.
Wow.
So you put too much of one thing on, you can really mess your soil up for a couple years.
So we really have to work on building our soil.
Every single year, you want to add something in.
So when my garden is done in the fall or July,
Right.
when I'm tired of it, should I leave all those dead plants in the garden area?
You can work those dead plants right back in. I've got gardeners that take their corn stalks and they shred them right there in their garden, and they spread it out on their garden and then work that back in.
I've never thought of this.
Yeah. But there's certain plants that we like to get rid of. So I never leave my tomato plants out there because they can pick up diseases through the summertime that you will put right back into your soil. So we'll get rid of the tomato plants, but most everything else we'll compost and put right back in the soil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's your head about
learning so many things today. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we are like covering lots of different things. This has been so fascinating to me. Obviously, there's a lot we need to learn.
And I was thinking, as we're standing here, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of work.
But it's enjoyable work.
It's enjoyable, but you don't have to plant a whole field.
No. And what we try and teach people is like, don't garden the way your parents made you garden when you were a kid, because it's like every Saturday you go out in the garden. It's like, oh, I want to go play with my friends. I want to go play baseball, and it's like, no, we're going to work in the garden,
for 5
and we're
hours.
going to work until it's done, and it would take like 4 or 5 hours. We pulled all the weeds, and then throughout the week, people don't do anything in their garden, and then Saturday rolls around, and you got to do it all over again. Yeah, and so I didn't.
Doing more. How did you do it with your kids?
I didn't grow up doing it that way. We do a little bit every night, and so we do a little bit on Monday night. We do a little bit on Tuesday. We do a little bit like throughout the week, and then Saturday would roll around, and all the work would be done already. So I'd call my friends and I go, "Let's go play ball," and they're like, "Oh, I got to work in my garden." It's like, I got to work in the garden. And so.
Yeah.
If you do a little bit every day, all of a sudden Saturday rolls around and you're like, oh, let's go play. All the work's done. And so I'll spend 20 minutes or half an hour every night after work.
Doesn't have to be hours.
The sun's not down, but it's like, it's cooler, it's like shady, and it's just like, oh, this is so nice. And I'll go out and I'll pull some weeds and I'll turn the water on over here and I'll fertilize this. And it's like, oh, this was so nice to just get outside, and then it's like, you do that a little bit every single day, and there's no hard work. It's just like enjoyable.
And you get to look at all your plants and how they're doing.
It's good exercise. It's good for your mentality.
Mental health is.
It's
huge,
really
right?
good for your mentality. And then you get outside, you get some fresh air. You just
Your
get to,
hands in the
and you
dirt.
get your hands in the dirt.
Yeah.
People that stick their fingers in the dirt and
Yeah.
grow things are just good, honest, hardworking people.
I would agree.
That's just
I'm
the
going
way
to put
it
my
is.
fingers in here now.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
You're so
Mark.
welcome.
This is
You're welcome.
really,
This got me
really a
excited.
fascinating conversation. I mean, this is something that we could do a full series on,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The good news is you have a YouTube channel, don't you?
We do. And we're constantly doing videos and adding them. We try and keep them to like 5 to 8 minutes or so, not too long. But we've taught people how to plant their plants, how to take care of their problems. I mean, here at Anderson's, of course, we sell lots of products, but what our customers really come in for is because we help them find solutions to their problems. And so that's what we do. We spend time. We'll spend 5 minutes with you. I'll hold your hand even if necessary and say, it's okay. I'm sorry, your plants are going to be all right. It's okay. But this is what you need to do.
I'm sure
And
you hear all the
all the time.
Yeah.
And this is the product that you need, and this is how you're going to use it. We'll just like walk you through that whole process so that you can be successful in your garden instead of going, I don't know what to do. This is so frustrating. It's so much work. Why am I doing this? We want it to be enjoyable, and we want it to be de-stressful,
Exactly.
and we want it to be just a fun experience for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's kind of like making a quilt,
Mhm,
right? It's the same kind of process
It
that
is.
we go through. And people experience frustration
Oh,
and disappointment and
As-
trying to get better and trying to learn. Same kind of idea.
Yeah.
he was talking about having to weed. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's like unpicking.
It's unpicking. Yeah.
Mhm.
Unpicking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you care
Sometimes
enough
it
make
has to be
right.
done.
Yeah.
It has to be done.
Exactly. All right, friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short little episode with Mark Anderson, and you can find more information on his YouTube channel. Check him out because he is a plethora of knowledge, as
Yeah.
you know, as
Yeah.
you've seen right here. And we are so lucky to have him right in our very own backyard here in Logan, Utah. So, all right, back to the studio.